Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, I'm John, this is MediaTrueNet, and welcome back to Total War Warhammer. Now, you may notice that the graphics have changed slightly. That's because I've already recorded, or rather I did record, the rest of the series, which was going to be either 2 or 3 more parts, depending on how I chose to cut that up in the end. It was probably just going to be 2 more parts, in fact. And then my computer crashed after about 5 hours of playtime, which is very, very annoying. And as a result, I spent several hours trying to recover it and speaking to various people, and basically we concluded it couldn't be recovered. So despite that small setback, we're going to give you the proper full conclusion for how it went, because obviously having played those 5 hours, I know how it went. So welcome to Total War Warhammer Part 11. So just so you know how all of this fits together, what we're going to be doing is this bit in the middle, that's Germany, and this bit down here, that's the dwarfy, deserty, green skingy, wargy bit, and this bit up here, up that side, this way, that's the bit with the chaos in it. So that's how that is, and this bit over here, that's the vampires. That's where the vampires are. So at the end of part 10, where we were was our heroic heroes, the Empire, who are going to be represented by that tomato ketchup, were stuck in their own territory. And you may remember the Frenchies, who are going to be represented by this garlic, had indeed decided to invade. All the while, the forces of the scaling, who are going to be this lemon, they were up here somewhere, and I had to make a terrible, I'm going to center the scaling slightly more. Yes, I had to make a terrible choice. Should the Empire go and fight the French or the Scalings? And so you know what happened from that amazing cliffhanger. What did actually happen was I decided that I was going to what was the name of that crappy town? Gorsel, yes. I decided that Gorsel, which was what the lemon wanted, Gorsel's going to be represented by this Tetris block. Yeah, that's Gorsel. Those are the scalings, remember. There, I've moved everything again, but everything's still the same, so don't worry about that. I decided to sacrifice Gorsel to the scalings and let them sack it, because what I needed to do was defend Eilhart, because that's where my cavalry was. That's Eilhart's this paracetamol. So I needed to defend Eilhart from the French, who are the garlic. So what I did was I moved my army, and just broke the paracetamol. But we moved it, and we moved it into Eilhart. But luckily, the French, on this occasion, they just wandered off, and then they just went. I don't know why. We were actually at peace with them, but we never liked them very much. So they kind of wandered off, so that was a bit pointless. But luckily, the Scalings, having been given a kind of a free path at flipping Gorsel, decided they didn't want Gorsel, and they just sort of sat there for no reason, and then they just kind of wandered off as well. It was a bit anticlimactic in some ways. So in the end, the Empire catch-up, basically we still had Gorsel and we kept Eilhart, and everybody wandered off. So that was good. Meanwhile, over in the west of the Empire, you may recall that one of the empires was Stirland, because we'd already confederated with Talabecland. Talabecland are this C-3PO, this C-3PO shampoo. So we confederated with them. Then there was Stirland, who are Thunderbird 2. So basically, we'd already confederated with the shampoo, so the shampoo was already catch-up. And then, at the very beginning of part 11, we asked Stirland to join us, and they were totally up for it, because they only had 1 territory left at that point. Remember, they'd been really hard-pressed by the vampire counts, who were the TARDIS. So the Stirland lot decided to confederate with the catch-up, so it was like catch-up Thunderbird 2, and then as a result of that, I basically moved. Actually, they had a really weird settlement. Actually, there was a settlement that was it's this Edward Monckton mug. Which was way down here, in Western Sylvania, way over in the Vampire Land. They'd marched their entire army. Stirland had the TARDIS. Wait, was TARDIS the Stirland? Yes, they'd marched their entire army down to take this crappy little village down in Western Sylvania, and then basically they'd left Stirland completely undefended, which is why I think they were willing to confederate, because it meant I could basically put their army into march mode, and we marched their army straight back to the TARDIS, and as a result, that's what happened there. So I was actually able to save them, because Manfred von Kahr, wait, was it Stein or Steen? I think someone told me it was Steen. He was throwing. We're going to move this over. Hang on. What was the paracetamol again? Never mind. So Manfred von Karstein is this Nutella jar, and he was threatening Stirland. He was like, I'm going to I don't know. What do vampire... I guess they consume your blood, and then, like, after they've consumed your blood, they, like, turn your people into, like, their people or something. They kill you, then they bring you back from the dead. So he was like, Stirland, I'm going to get you. And Stirland was like, oh, no, please don't. And then I brought the army. Wait, was this the village? This is the army now. And I was like, no. And Manfred was like, no, please don't hurt me. You're too strong and also handsome. And then he kind of wandered off again. So we basically secured Stirland. So we had an extra kind of bit in the empire, which was really, really good. So you're cool. Like, the French have just, like, wandered off, which was great. Meanwhile, up north, the Lemons had just run into my friends at Marienburg. Marienburg is this copy of Pokemon Crystal, and like the scaling people who are these were the scaling. And Marienburg was just like, hey, did you spill my pint, mate? And then they just like knocked them straight, like they obliterated them. Marienburg was amazing. I was so glad that I decided to be a vassal with them. So like the scalings were just completely rocked up, and then Marienburg went and flipping took that settlement that the scaling lot kind of had burnt up at the top, the Dietville or something. I forget what it was called. And they actually kind of resettled it, and then they put a full stack army in Dietberg and in that other one, the Nordland place that they took off the Nordlandians. And basically, I never really heard from the scaling again, because every time they kind of came ashore, Marienburg just utterly kicked their ass. It was brilliant. So meanwhile, over here, right, hang on, let's just change everything. We're just gonna... It's actually easier for me to move the stuff than it is the camera. So let's just move that army out the way. So actually, no, the army can be there. So this is Stirland, and that's the army of Stirland. So right now I've got an army garrisoned at Stirland, which is what that is. And then over north of Stirland, the C3PO shampoo is Talabek land, and north of that was the other one that was over the bridge. That's going to be represented by these cat treats. So there's also a river between the... That's not the... Hang on. Just move these down. So Stirland, Talabek land, and the other one that I've forgotten who it was. You may recall, there's nothing left of Middenberg at this point, but Middenheim itself. Like, oh, and also like some crappy mountain settlement, but I just smashed that at some point. Don't worry about that one. So Banjo Tooie is going to be Middenland, or no, it's not. It's Middenheim, all right? So basically, I marched one of my armies, and that army's going to be represented by this Zelda-style treasure chest. I'd marched my armies out of these settlements to go and help relieve Stirland, and Middenheim's army, Boris Todbringer himself, like an idiot, tried to march against these two settlements. So all I did was Balthazar Gelt, who was down here, being catch-up and awesome, just kind of force march north and plonked himself directly between Middenheim and Boris Todbringer. And all of a sudden, Boris Todbringer's like, oh no, please don't make a sequel that's called Nuts and Bolts, it would be terrible. And basically, yeah, he got completely sandwiched and smashed. He then spent the next 5 turns with like a crappy force of cavalry, just basically running around the Empire, being really bloody annoying. And like, in my experience, this is actually one of the problems with Total War Warhammer, which is when you've got the enemy down to a really small army, if they just go into force march and just outrun you constantly, it's really hard to keep up, because the only way to keep up with them is to go into force march yourself. And while you're in force march, you can't engage them. So as a result, like, you repeatedly find yourself in a situation where you're just chasing a crappy force around the map, but you can't stop chasing them, because otherwise they might find a weak enough town that's got no walls to pick on, and it's kind of annoying. So eventually Boris Todbringer was like completely smashed. Like, I think eventually actually Alfred, whatever his name was, the guy who travelled around with the wizard, he was eventually able to track him down and utterly smash him, and we actually finished off Middenheim for good. Now, at this point, things were actually looking good, because we had Stirland, and we had Talabek land, and we had the other place. The place we took off Middenheim, but Ostland was trying to get. So the Ostlandians are like over here somewhere. They're dicks. Like, the Ostlandians are this game of werewolf, alright? So the Ostlandians are up there. That reflects a pawn. I'm going to make it stand up there. It was this game of werewolf. I'm also going to make it stand up the correct way. So the Ostlandians were that correctly standing up game of werewolf over there. And like the Imperials was like, yeah, I am catch up. And everything was mighty. The economy was improving at this point as well, by the way. Because like taking over Stirland had been quite good. Because basically after I'd kind of reinforced Stirland, I realised they had quite a good garrison, so I invested some of the money I'd got from kind of going around and winning some of these fights into guardhouses, because as long as there's guardhouses, enough walls around, you don't need as many armies floating around anymore. So basically I dissolved like half of this army, so like pretend this mug's like half a mug. There you go, that's a relatively good impression right there. Because as far as I can tell, I was doing a decent job in the economy. Like, every town had, like, the cotton producing place in it, the weaving house thing. So all the towns were producing money, and all of them were being taxed. And, like, you can't set tax rates as far as I can tell. So, like, everyone was being taxed, and every society had some money coming out of it. So I think I just had too many troops. So I started kind of dissolving those and using my armies more intelligently. Now, the advantage we've got here is, because Marienburg, those big damn heroes over in Pokemon Crystal, were guarding my northern flank really successfully, and the French were just like, couldn't be bothered, they'd surrendered or something, so, you know, as roughly as to be expected. And Gorsel fell back into French hands, because Gorsel revolted because it ran out of happiness, and then the French came and took it, and then I was just like, you want it? You take it. This town has been taken off me 3 or 4 times this game. Every time I try and rebuild it, it gets taken off before I see the benefits of it. It's just a money sink. So I actually took it. And I realised, actually, when a society takes a town, the local foliage immediately updates to whatever that faction's local foliage is. So, like, there was this really weird thing where, like, right at the boundary into Gorsel, there was all these kind of, like, much lighter green trees, and then just over the boundary, there was all these fir trees, like you kind of saw in my previous videos. So yeah, the foliage updated. Like, the soldiers went around this massive territory, replacing all the trees with trees that the French king liked a bit better. So the French just had Gorsel, and I was totally fine with them having Gorsel, because in my experience, it was way more trouble than it was worth. So, and we made peace with them. So we're fine with them. And Marienburg was taking care of the northern flank. And the south was always pretty bloody secure, because we've never had any trouble with Wissenberg. And they'd kind of beaten Averland into the ground already. So we kind of had a secure flank down here as well. And as long as Stirland had, like, at least half an army, no, too much, half an army present, the vampire counts weren't coming near it as long as I was investing in the garrison. And that left us only one front left. And that front was, of course, over here, beyond the river at Talabek land, we had the Ostlandian bastards, alright? That's what we had. We had the Ostlandian bastards. And we were finally ready to take them on. Because at this point, Heinz What's-His-Face, whatever the name of the emperor is, he'd actually come onto the field. So we'd actually got him with an army. And Balthazar Gelt was there. So we actually had 2 full-stack armies moving against Ostland. And it got better than that, however, because if we just kind of move everything over a little bit, the Ostlandian dicks here suddenly found that they had 2 problems to deal with. One was they only had 3 territories left. They had this territory, like, one castle way over here, and then one, like, up to the north somewhere. But the north one was bordered with Marienburg. So as long as Marienburg was my vassal, I was giving them war directions to go up here. So, like, it's called, like, Norden or something. So they kept kind of going and troubling Norden, which was keeping the Ostlandians distracted. And then the forces of chaos, not just the scaling guys, the actual forces of chaos, and they're going to be represented by Emma Bunton's first album. That's the forces of chaos. So they were coming in and they were attacking Ostland from behind, and they burnt the castle in Ostland to the ground. So Ostland at this point only had 2 settlements left, and with that castle burnt and the forces of chaos, which is Emma Bunton, actually in Ostland itself, they were no longer able to move troops between whatever this one was called, Ostland 1 and Ostland 2, which was up the north and being troubled by Pokemon Crystal over there. So they just couldn't really do anything anymore. So at that point, I just sent in my 2 full-stack armies, and I just basically knocked those guys out, and we just basically smashed through them. We didn't even bother kind of building anything. We just kind of had enough mortars to smash their walls down and go straight in. It was brilliant. Oh, by the way, did I mention, when Middenheim, the actual city Middenheim of Middenland went down, Marienburg did all the work again. They sent an army to reinforce, so I just attacked with 1 battering ram, opened the gates, and they did all the work. It was brilliant. So Ostland at this point were pretty much done. Like, the remnants of Ostland are up there, and Marienburg's gonna kind of deal with them. And at this point, the forces of chaos, Emma Bunton, are coming closer to me. But I've now got 2 full-stack armies, and they're a bit damaged because of all the fighting they've been doing against Ostland over there. So basically, at this point, my full-stack army, the catch-up just goes to flip. Well, the catch-up was supposed to go over to Emma Bunton and just be like, yeah, screw you, Emma Bunton, yeah, that's right. How do you like that? Do you like some chaos? Yeah, there you are. Have some chaos, Emma Bunton. So Emma Bunton was basically just, like, dealt with like that. That's Emma Bunton having been catch-upped there. Sorry, that was reflecting the light there. So that Emma Bunton basically got imperialed by catch-up, by Emperor Heinz What's-His-Face. And I basically smashed 2 Imperial armies, and I didn't really see any after that for a while. They just kind of retreated. This rune smells quite strongly of catch-up at this point. In some ways, this was a bad tactical decision. to do that. But yes, and that pretty much was actually where I ended the series. Because at that point, we had the eastern flank kind of locked down with Stirland and the army that was there. The southern flank was totally peaceful. We were actually friends with the French. They were actually really coming round to us, which was really, really good. Middenland were totally out of the equation, and Marienburg were guarding our northern flank. So at that point, like, we were pretty much at the point where after a couple of turns, we were going to be able to get Wissenland, who had 4 territories, to confederate, because they were coming close to it. They were thinking about it, but the first time I asked them, they didn't say yes. So, but like, my friendship with them was going up every turn, and it was coming up as an option. So it was blatantly going to become available very soon. And the point when Wissenberg confederated was when I was going to end the series, because after that happened, then pretty much, like, I would control 80% of the territory required for the victory condition for the Empire. All that would be left would be Averland, like the remnants of Ostland, assuming Marienburg hadn't already kind of come in, like the magnificent Pokemon Crystal bastards they are, and taken Nordland, because if they are, all we would need to do would be go and like rebuild a couple of territories, because some of them got burnt by the Force of Chaos, so we just need to basically go and recolonize those to get them set up properly again. But pretty much, we were done at that point. At that point, it was just mopping up. And I was going to end the series there, or here, because this is an absolutely perfect What was Thunderbird 2 again? Anyway, this was an absolutely perfect recreation of, like, what actually happened in that game, using these excellent kind of props that I kind of brought in. So that's pretty much the end of Total War Warhammer. That was how it was going to end. In fact, how it did end, but then the footage got completely destroyed by Shadowplay and there was no way to get it back. So, sorry about that. But that is how it happened. And next week, ladies and gentlemen, because I've really enjoyed doing a strategy game series, we're going to do another one. I'm going back to Stellaris, because I've really enjoyed my time with Stellaris, and I've been doing a lot of reading up about it. I've learnt a lot about how it works. I think it's going to be a lot better this time. So, Stellaris, starting next Tuesday, and that's going to be kind of our running series for a little bit as well. So, some more strategy games for you very, very soon, ladies and gentlemen. But in the meantime, I've been John, this has been Many a True Nerd, and this has been Total War Warhammer Part 11. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye. Good dodge, sir. But can you keep it up, cop? Oh, no, you can't. Oh, nice. Oh, didn't get that one, though. We are going to the gun store in Star. Oh, where's my partner? Oh, he's not here. Oh, so long, loser.